Hey everyone, it's Deborah Bringleson here. So Ryan Romano and I wanted to do a Facebook Live today, and it didn't work out for us because apparently
Um,
Facebook doesn't allow two presenters anymore, which we just discovered. So we've gone to Plan B, and for those of you who may or may not know me, my name is Deborah Bringleson, and I have I'm known in the world as a business consultant. I work with companies in 17 countries around the world, and I've been doing that for 25-ish years. But what a lot of people don't know is that I first started studying shamanism about 30 years ago, using my own Native American background and learning from Aborigines and other Native shamans from around the world in different cultures. And then about 15-ish years ago, when quantum physics first started becoming more mainstream, I did a lot of learning there too. And what I discovered was that shamanism and quantum physics and spirituality, they're all talking a lot of the same things, just using different language. And I had been using quantum physics in my own life for about 30 years. I first started learning about it because I wanted to heal my own life and experiences that I had as a child. And as I learned more and found that what I was learning was really successful in helping me create the life that I wanted, and some actually pretty massively big wins, I started using it specifically with clients, I guess about 10 years ago. First, kind of slipping it in because, I didn't want to sound too woo-woo. But now I'm more open and out in the public about it, and have been working with clients who are achieving massively successful big wins. And a few years ago, I met Ryan, who he's in the high performance space. He works with parents and kids to help them have the great successes in not just in sports, but in their lives. And he also works with corporate clients. He comes in and helps them learn how to be peak performance achievers. And Ryan and I have been talking about everything that's been going on with the coronavirus and the stock market and all of the mass hysteria that's out there. And knowing what we know, having seen the successes in our own lives and with our clients, we know that what you think about, what we think about, is what we attract and what we bring into our lives. And the more feeling that we have, the faster it comes into our lives. So if we're sitting around in massive fear, what's happening is that is causing us to have emotions attached to those thoughts in our head. And it's also causing us to have that energy in our body, that catch in your gut that you have, that fear that you feel in your heart. Those emotions in your head and the feelings in your body are like massive magnets. They're reaching out to the universe. So the universe is 100% energy. Everything is energy. Your body, your desk, your house, the rocks in your front yard, they're all made of energy that are moving in different speeds. And when you are feeling fear, that energy is stronger than just about anything else that you could put out there. And what happens is it goes out like in little currents of energy or spider webs. If you can imagine that going out, and what it does is it latches on to not what you say you want. So in your head you say, well, I want a healthy body, and I want, a lot of money, I want a great experience in life. What it latches onto is the energy and frequency that matches what you're putting out. So if you're putting out fear, you're sending out that energy, and your body is a magnet pulling fearful experiences back to you. So as I said, Ryan is one of the most magical manifestors I have ever seen. And if I can brag about him a little bit, I have seen him manifest houses. He's growing his business, crazy numbers, growing his business 35 to 95% every month. He's got an incredible, beautiful new fiance. And he happened to have rented a private island in Belize, whisked his then girlfriend away to Belize, and spent magical days with her and proposed to her. So now she's his fiance.
That's
So,
it.
so I wanted to bring Ryan on because he's had these experiences that he can talk about directly. So Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience before you learned how to create your own life, and what it's been like now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to touch on is exactly what you just said, is growing up, especially even in the athletic space, growing up as an athlete, you hear like the term visualization, right? It's like, you lay in bed and think about the goals and the desires that you have. And obviously that is, like you said, what you think about is a piece of the puzzle, but really that was the ceiling that I understood. It was just thinking. It was just visualization. And, popping a couple notes down as you were talking is the critical factor that I was missing in working with you and being around you was that idea of, what was I feeling and what were the emotions behind what I was thinking? Because again, using when I was, a high school or college athlete is, you know, we all want to win the tournament or win a national title. But if we're nervous or we're scared or we're fearful of those things, it's like, they're not going to happen, or the likelihood of them happening is much less than if we do have that confidence. We do exude that I guess really just confidence in whatever it is that we want. And so now I think that's been the most critical piece of the puzzle is, okay, as I'm thinking about something, as I'm visualizing something, it's taking notice of, what am I feeling? Does it match what I'm thinking? If it's, obviously the easy example we always use is money, right? It's like, if we want money, yet we're feeling this sense of lack and we're scared we're never going to get it, and we're worried about the next bill that comes, it's usually we find more bills and we find more expenses, and all of a sudden we feel like we have less money. But if it is something like money and we're inside of us, can we feel that experience of what it would be like to have that extra $100 a month, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month, whatever that is? So being able to connect those thoughts and those emotions inside of me has been the biggest game changer for me.
So let's talk about why you and I decided to do this today. The whole mass hysteria about the coronavirus.
Right.
And, Ryan, I'm a parent, and Ryan works a lot with kids. And I think one of the things that inspired us to start this conversation was, my daughter, she's 17 years old, and I am not worried on any level about her getting the coronavirus. We don't get sick. I haven't been to the doctor since she was born almost 18 years ago. Neither one of us even have a doctor. We don't believe in getting sick in our house, and so we don't. My concern was all of the hysteria. Her Twitter feed is blowing up. She goes to school and people are talking about it. We have had 0 outbreaks here, and her school's shut down for the next 2 weeks. So I'm concerned about the infection of fear more than I am concerned about the infection of getting sick. So, Ryan, what are you seeing, and based on your experience manifesting and creating such a magical life for yourself, what is it that you would say to parents and kids?
Yeah, I think that's obviously in in the gym and in the performance space is, making sure that the things that they're telling them match. Because I mean, we have parents come in that a kid wants to make the high school basketball team, and they're like basically saying that they're never going to make it, right? And it's like, well, now like that kid is definitely not going to believe he's going to make the team. And it's kind of the same concept here is like, I think there's a difference in being cautious and obsessive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there has become this obsessive sense is, be careful as whether you're a teacher, a coach, a parent, And like, did you wash your hands? Did you wash your hands? Like, you don't want to get this, you don't want to get that. And there's this fear of constantly saying what you don't want. And
Right.
then all of a sudden now you're finding it, what you don't want is showing up in your life. And then when you talk about, I don't want sickness, I don't want the flu, I don't want the coronavirus, whatever it is,
Mhm.
now you're just bringing that all into your own world, or your child's world for that matter.
Right. So let's talk about some practical tips that people can use. First of all, for people who have children who are 0 to 7, neurologically, your child is a sponge. It's living in a different brainwave than you are as an adult. And so it's picking up everything that you're emitting, whether it's verbally, whether it's just in your tone, or it's also, your child is also picking up what you're feeling energetically. So if you've got kids who are 0 to 7 years old, this is vitally important for you. But, as parents, I completely understand, we want our children to be safe. We want, them to be in a healthy environment. And this is out there and we're being bombarded with it. So what are some real practical things you can do? Number one, turn off the TV. When my daughter was born almost 18 years ago, we turned off the news for certain. We have not had the news on in 18 years because it's an effort to hypnotize you. That's all it is. Also, pay attention to, if you are watching TV, what are the things that you're watching? Are you watching shows where there's a lot of shooting and illness and all of that? That invades your psyche, that invades your emotions. So turn those off as well. Around the dinner table, talk about what are the positive things happening in your lives. It's a fact that you can't hold a positive and a negative in your body at the same time. You can't do it. So, people say, well, do I have to monitor my thoughts all the time? And, what do I do about that? And how do I stop thinking about something? Well, when you try to stop thinking about something, you're actually putting your attention on it, right? So what we do is we change our attention from what we don't want to what we do want. Because as I said, you can't hold a positive and a negative at the same time. I think you've had some experience with this, Ryan, yourself, of, in the beginning when you were learning, how do I shift my energy and get more in alignment with what I want rather than what I don't want. Am I right about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way that you described it to me was like, be careful obsessing over things. And
Right.
this is what I'm seeing is that people, again, there's the fine line between being cautious and obsessive. And I think everything right now is just obsessing over what's going on.
Right. So what do you do if you're out somewhere at your job or your kids are at school or whatever, and somebody starts talking about it and obsessing over it? What are some of the things that you can do? What would you do, Ryan?
Well, first, I guess try to avoid those conversations and those people. I think that's first and foremost. Obviously, we always talk about our environment, and that not only includes the people that we're around, but the space that we're putting our bodies
Hmm.
in any area.
Hmm.
And then, I think this is one of those things, kind of using one of your sayings, as you always have preached and taught, is, what if it was easy? So I think or another one is kind of, what is the opposite of that?
Yeah.
And so, as people get in these manic modes, this panic mode or a state of fear, it's like, okay, well, what's the opposite of that? Maybe peace. Okay, well, what would that feel like? What would that look like in this instant? And try to shift your mind and kind of your body into that direction.
Right. You're absolutely right. So some of the things that I would recommend practically to do, if somebody starts talking about this, you can walk away. You don't have to participate in anything that is not for your well-being. I mean, would you eat or drink some toxic poison? No. You wouldn't put that into your body, and you wouldn't want your child to either. Well, these are toxic poisons that you don't want in your mind and in your energy field. So walk away. If you can't walk away and somebody wants to keep talking about it, what I do is just say, hey, look, it is not to your benefit for me to talk about this with you. It's only harming you, and I love you too much that I'm not going to harm you by having this conversation. So let's switch the topic. And then I would switch the topic. And then what happens, how do you train yourself when you're in your own mind or maybe sitting around the dinner table? What Ryan said is absolutely true. What is the opposite of that? So if you're afraid of getting sick, the opposite of that is wellness. Or you can go just to something in general that's at a higher frequency. So one of the first things that I do is I like to teach people to call in the energy and frequency of joy. So we're not going to do a long experience of this, but just let's do this real quickly. Take a nice deep breath and just call in the energy and frequency of joy. Joy is one of those things that it's at a higher energy level, certainly higher than fear, certainly higher than anxiety. And you call in the experience of joy. Sometimes it's helpful if you remember a joyful experience. When I was first learning to do this, I would remember when my daughter was an infant, and I would sit literally for hours and I would gaze at her face. And I swear to God, she became more beautiful every second that went by. I believe that she really did. And I would just feel this intense joy. So call in an experience like that if you need to get you started so you know what you're feeling. So take another deep breath and feel in your core just joy. Feel it until it makes your lips smile without your even trying, the experience of joy. Can you feel that? Ryan, you're the only one here at the moment.
Yeah.
Can you feel that?
I forget I'm the only one. Usually I'm in a group.
Can you feel that energy of joy?
Absolutely.
And how does that feel? How does that feel in your body?
Relaxing.
Yeah.
Like I don't, like you said, it's like I don't have to force anything. I don't have to force a smile. I don't have to force a conversation. I don't have to force a thought. I can just allow those emotions and thoughts just to come to me instead of what we always call monkey mind being all over the place.
That's right. That's right. And when you can get your body in that frequency of joy, what you're doing is you're telling the universe or source or God, whatever word you want to use, you're saying, this is what I want to link up with. Send me more experiences that make me feel this way, rather than experiences that make me feel fear. And if you can do this for yourself and you can teach your children to do it, what you'll see is that your life will start shifting. You do not have to participate, and this is the real reason why Ryan and I wanted to do this today. You do not have to participate in all of this mass hysteria and all of this fear. We don't want you to, because we don't want you creating that in your life. Now look, we're not here to convince you of anything. Try this if you want, or don't if you don't want. We just know that this is how we've been able to begin creating the lives of health and abundance and magic, like renting a private island in Belize, which I just love that idea, Ryan. That's how you start creating that for yourself and for your children. So before we wrap up, Ryan, anything you want to add?
I think one last note, and again, I don't remember if I read this or you told me this, but I think that, in times of, I don't know if it's stress or fear, like those are the most times to exude peace. If you have a sense of lack in your mind, like that's the most important time to act and feel abundance.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, is that you can't have, a positive and negative at the same time. So if there is a sense of, worry or stress or fear or whatever that is, now's the time to exude 10 times the peace and gratitude and joy than in any other instance. So, and I think that's helped me out a lot is, even like you said, even with like renting the island is just like, man, it's going to cost a lot of money and that can stress, but like, that's the time to do even more. That was the time to give and put out there, all the things that I wanted to do. So that's a big piece of the puzzle that's helped me out as well.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know the stock market has dropped pretty significantly in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
And the one thing that I keep saying to people is you don't have to participate in that. And historically, we know that that's true because there are a lot of people who become multimillionaires and billionaires during economic downturns. Now, I would never wish for that for
Right.
anyone that there's an economic downturn, but the people who choose not to participate don't. Like I said, my daughter and I, we don't even have doctors. I haven't had one for, since she was born almost 18 years ago because I choose to be healthy. I choose to believe that I'm healthy. So, hey, thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining Ryan and me today.
absolutely.
And thank
We
you.
got to do it more often now.
Yeah, I think we should.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, everyone, and I will see you soon.
See y'all.